Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for the Commander-in-Chief of Abbotsford. And the first thing we're going to do for our town, our residents and families, is remove the Abbotsford police. They're out of here. They're gone. The threats on Abbotsford residents, the block in the election, and not only that, the total beatdown on residents that wanted to speak up on the organized crime of Henry Braun, his son, and blocking from the city auditorium. But the attack on the South Asians. I'm asking today, right now, for this resignation of the top of the Abbotsford police chief. Right now, Watts. I want him removed and I want him out of here for the incompetence. That uniform is a way for these lazy, useless, pathetic men to hold their job and beat down on this community. These men were never about law enforcement. This was clear when they weren't investigating Henry's hit and run, the threats, smashing of my camera, smashing of my personal phone my son bought me, and above all, the accusations made by his officers. Failing to come out or do any investigation shows the incompetence of this garbage elite staff in the top of the Abbotsford police, and it was only about their position and holding their jobs. Today I want to paint you a clear picture of why I want Chief Watts leading investigations officers out of Abbotsford immediately, and for the general public to be aware that they can't be trusted. I'm down on Gladys Avenue, where the South Asian Army has fed the homeless. The Tree of Hope has been here for many, many, many years, and it almost wrecked the former mayor, councillor, and MLA Bruce Bamman's life. It was used for a manipulation move for Henry Braun to own the city, to basically put Bruce Bamman and people under so they could never speak. It's a clear picture of, if you read the Abbotsford News today, Vicky Hope's statement against Suk Mangel. Vicky Hope's and Abbotsford News were only one-sided to help Henry Braun. We can't allow these attacks on our South Asians. They're our neighbors, they're our friends, they feed our homeless, they're our workers, they're our doctors in the hospitals. We gotta call that out. This attack is clear by Vicky Hope's on Suk Mangel. Abbotsford residents and myself worked our asses off, let me put it like that. When I knew Henry was loading Mike de Jong, and you could see him endorse Mike de Jong, and he used John Van Dogging, you could see him, he used Eric Nivel, the cheating in the parks of Mill Lake, the cheating in front of Mike. That was to get Mike the MP position to squash all this and clean the Abbotsford police, the organized criminal ring. They believed if they got Mike in, they could swipe it all out having an MP. I believe that's what their goal was, because then Mike could go to Carney and say, listen, well, I won't mention too much about this if you don't mention anything in Abbotsford and help. Abbotsford residents and myself worked our ass off everywhere, knowing that Henry was throwing behind Mike de Jong, Vicky Hopes was, and everybody was behind Mike and Dave Sidhu, allowed that attack on the South Asians. Today, I'm here. What are I here for? The incompetence of this fool mayor, Ross Siemens, that was only loaded for job sites, and you could see it. And Dave Lowens is running basically the mayor seat. Every time something's done, it's Dave Lowens tweeting it out. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the attack on Abbotsford residents, on us and our homes, by a developer in Henry Braun, brought a lot of important people in to help Abbotsford against the police department, Ed Fast and Mike de Jong. This was an elite ring holding down Abbotsford. There's no mistake. If you can clearly see what Darren Braun showed, was no conspiracy. But the incompetence of this fool, Ross Siemens, working at his gas station 24 hours almost a day, more than any other mayor. He should be giving half of his salary back because he doesn't need that much time. Or he should be saying that Henry Braun and all the other mayors ripped the Abbotsford taxpayers off because look what I can do. I'm at my gas station almost 24 hours a day. And Ross never wanted to run it. It was Henry that needed him in. What are I doing on Gladys Avenue? Let me tell you why. When I learned from Darren Braun that Henry was running Ron Funk and him were partners, and they changed the zoning and the illegal stuff to get job sites through. It's organized crime. How's that organized crime? The same as a fentanyl ring. When people set up fentanyl or drug trafficking or sex trafficking or any criminal act, what is the goal? When Ron Funk set up for Diverse to own these job sites, and Ren Ross Siemens is signed, like Peter Wall years ago said, you can't have it. The developer now owns the mayor and council. And he ran council sign on him and nobody else's. I put that to question at Rob Funk's office, and he said, we really need Ross. We really need Ross. This is why Great Toe's blocked. This is why you don't see any of them appearing in the newspaper anymore. Vicky Hopes believed that the way I could control it with this one lung newspaper was to block it from Abbotsford residents. I took that to Bill Vanderzem, people that worked for Bill Vanderzem, MLAs, and we came into Abbotsford, and basically, with George Ferguson passed away, we had nobody that had any credibility to stand up and fight. Thanks to them people, the former premiers and dignitaries of Abbotsford, it's everywhere, and you could clearly see. Ed Fast, the MP that was tied to Peak Pacific Homes with Devon Roy and Ron Funk of Diverse. That's why Ed never called this out. The city people that worked in the city, basically, I could basically tell you, the city people were paid a very handsomely good kickback under the table, which is probably cash, to sneak in here at 12 o'clock at night and cut the tree down, and your uniform would cover it. Just the same as Henry got Keelan Olenoff to threaten me to drop the videos and lawsuits, or he would personally bury me, and the same as he got the task force to threaten Mogale right here, and the same as he used the task force on me 24/7. Uniform. And under uniform, you can't come after me or beat me up, because the simple reason is the courts will feel sorry for us. The courts got to take a different look at the abuse of Abbotsford's uniform. And this is what they were doing. But to cut the tree of hope down, and you could see Vicky Hopes. So today I want to outline something. The churches, the temples, and many people that look after the homeless are outraged. And they have no leadership here because this incompetent fool Ross Siemens, it looks like to me Ross is just making his final ditch effort with his friends that were Abbotsford first to load up and then, like his dad said, flee and become a missionary. We're going to go after it. Too many people were put in harm's way, from the Mackenzie Bog, Ross's gas station knocked down with all them contaminants, antifreeze, hydraulics, gosh, all that stuff tugged into mission and put right in the fishery stream. Right smack. And in the return, Ross, Henry Brown, and Vicky Hopes wouldn't get. So today, what should be done? After all the attack by Vicky Hopes, I want to show you a clear picture. The incompetence of this mayor came down here because he owed Ron Funk to beat the homeless up to get fed by the Salvation and scatter them. Under me, there'll be competency. Under me, there'll be transparency. And under me, I'm going to create a level of home for the homeless. A stage 1 and a stage 2. I'm going to take half of that $1 billion, $100 million out of the city, and I'm going to create stage 1 and stage 2 homes for these homeless. And I'm going to take all these rocks out of here, and I'm going to put a chain link fence around here. I'm going to put a nice tree back here, and I'm going to put right there the homeless back here. And that's what needs to be done. Right now, the homeless are behind that rock pile on the train track, what puts them in high risk. They're not getting in this hot weather, this hot storm we had here, this heat wave. They're not getting water and fluids because these people that look after them from the church are very old people and they can't get in there. But they're put in harm's way, basically endangering their life, Ross Siemens was. Why? Why? Let me explain. He owed Ron Funk that favor for this pipeline, like Darren Braun said. Your tax dollars and the Abbotsford police went in here to haul all these rocks every day, inflating the time. Oh, you want overtime? Olenoff, you want overtime? Gertie Purdy, you want overtime? Dix, you want on your tax dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars under the uniform, the police uniform. Nobody will have to pay it back. The lady that stole on Abbotsford police, the $200,000 had to pay it back. You're going to pay it back. And they tugged these rocks because they knew activists would see it. They knew Vicky Hopes was going to block that, and you could see that block. And you knew that Abbotsford's MLA, Mike Dion, and Ed Fast, the MP, were going to cover this all up. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the same as fentanyl, the same as drug trafficking, the same as all these illegal criminal acts. Ron Funk stands to make millions of dollars, the same as people when they set up to do fentanyl. They don't set up to build fentanyl because there's somebody that really desperately needs it. You think when you go to the bank says, well, you're really desperately broke, so I'm going to give you $100 million because you're desperately broke and destituted. They ain't. At the end of the day, it's about money. Ron Funk never set up because there was a shortage of houses. He was going to manipulate because it was about money. And Henry went in and looked at them plans and doing that. Under my mayor ticket, I'm going to go after them illegal job sites like Ron Funk's right now. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to designate so many units out of that, sell most of it back off under seizure, and designate that to be given to the homeless. Today I want to talk to you about something else a little different here. The BC Conservatives and leaders of Abbotsford know that this, and you would suspect that they would be down here standing up for it, and they're not. They're not. Abbotsford city staff called me a few weeks ago and were outraged about the BC Conservatives and outraged about some of the NDP and what was taking place. What took place in this here is the attack on Souk Mangil. Archway Community Services should be down here, they said, screaming and yelling about them not getting fed and not getting nourishment and the abuse on them. And they've been outlining this for weeks and weeks and weeks. These are the city staffs that now turned on Ross Siemens. Dave Lowen should be down here. Dave Lowen should be having a press conference with Dave Sidhu talking about all this and the illegalness. He wasn't. He was a part of that dirty technique on Abbotsford residents and the taxes to be fraud. But I want to speak to you today about something else. This is a BC Conservative, Armin Bangdu. He's the critic for transportation for the BC Conservatives against the NDP. And yet when he was called here, let me tell you what the city people in the no minds, not the smart people that are planning it. Here's what took place. Leaked out of Nancy Friesen to the Abbotsford police. They asked Armin to come in and then do a broadcast at the Abbotsford Police Department on the homeless. And the homeless were such a problem there. Winning Armin over to their team, to their camp, you might say. When Armin was asked to come down here and talk about the illegalness, the rocks, but the endangerment of the homeless, what was the point of putting the rocks here so you could put them between the trains so a train can smack them and run them over? That's there, and we have to look at if anybody gets injured, we have to charge Ross Siemens, Peter Sparanese, and an engineer and the top of the police chief with murder, because that's what they did. The Abbotsford police sat here and chased them off that buffer. They didn't care they went in between that track as long as they cleared that buffer for Ron Funk. This is what they were doing. Armin should have been here, but the police chief and Nancy Friesen and Ross and Dave Lowens figured that if we win him over, now he'll be on our team and wouldn't call him out. We need to call this out because these are the men that blame David Eby for the homeless. And we got Brad Vist, the BC or the federal conservative, going in Mill Lake and speaking about Mill Lake. And everybody asked me today, Mr. Pelican, what is Brad Vist doing in Souk Mangil's riding? He's got no business. Let me tell you what he's doing. He's trying to bail out Henry Brown, Rob Funk, Ed Fast, and the establishment. That's why he's chasing these boundaries, because he should be standing right here with me and saying, under Mr. Pelican's leadership and mayorship, we're right. We need to get these rocks out ASAP. We need to create a chain link fence on that nice green grass there. We need to get a tree back here because they're well looked after by the homeless. And then we need to fix it, and Mr. Pelican's right, under this incompetent fool that's running development job sites and scamming on Abbotsford residents with the Abbotsford police. and chasing the homeless from they kicked them out of here, from one location to another location to another location. Where are these homeless going? They're coming in your backyards. This is why they went up in front of the Abbotsford police. And then the Abbotsford police were complaining that, oh, we need arming and that. But this is how it happened under my mayorship. You're not going to be chasing the homeless into other and people's backyards and using excuses to get more police. Under my mayorship, we're going to create stage 1 and stage 2 housing. Nobody wants to live in a tent. Nobody wants to be forced to live in these kind of facilities, but they're forced to. And we're going to take away from Archway Community Services. We're going to take away from King Haven, and we're going to create every 6 months an audit into these people that are looking after the vulnerables, like the hospitals and doctors, adequate, certified people, and not friends of friends. And this is what it was about. Let's push the homeless, let's run the homeless down, and we can get more for Archway Community Services. Where's Rob Santiago talking about the negligence and demanding that the police chief, Colin Watts, be removed? Honorably, first of all, steps down, the greedy little bugger. Oh, my mortgage, oh, my mortgage, oh, my mortgage. And first of all, step down for this abuse. And then, not only that, start to be investigated for all the stuff he has done here in Abbotsford. And stop using this police force. This is a clear black and white. And this is what it was done. But we need Abbotsford residents. I'm proud to say I'm willing to lead you now, and I'm willing to lead you and go after the organized crime. Under my mayorship, the first statement we will make, the first thing we will do is get the RCMP in here, and they're needed. You could see the Abbotsford police. They're coming down here with the city at night, and they're giving these bylaws and booting up the developers most to start. So this is called Podcast 1 today on the homeless. I'm going to go up the road and I'm going to shoot a podcast 2, and I want you to see this. I'm going to show you what Peter Wall showed me when I worked for him, when Intertech Tony McGill, and the experience to look through this organized criminal ring under the Abbotsford police. The experience that these men that were in the city used uniform in a high level of crime. They went in and pretend they were politicians and took their sons and their friends in front of them and then passed these decisions, and councils were with them. Henry knew to control the majority of city councils that would vote in his way and prop him up for the Cooper's Farm with Polygon, to these job sites for his son in front of him. And this was the reward, and it was about frauding Abbotsford. But Henry knew that private police were all lock, stock, and his. Today, they're trying to step away from it. But today, I want to mention, if you look at this article by Vicky Holtz, this is clear racism. There's no need for this attack at all. And Dave Sidhu's trying to say, his people are running around saying Dave really wants to try his mayorship. How are you going to try your mayorship, Dave Sidhu? How are you going to get anything when you didn't support this character, or you didn't support your own South Asian? You went behind Mike DeYoung, who cheated. His signs are still up. You went behind Mike DeYoung. You had a party at the height of the coronavirus at his house. Darren Brown showed all the illegal criminal acts. Why did this happen? Why don't it happen in Mission and Chilliwack? You know why, ladies and gentlemen? When I leaked that Paul Horn was giving out money to Archway to take the money over here into another municipality from Mission and teach English when they got teachers over there, and what the Chamber of Commerce was doing. And Alex Mitchell takes a picture with the critic of the transportation, Armin, from the Chamber of Commerce, and does this. You know what happened? People in Mission were so deadly scared of the RCMP. They told on Paul Horn trying to steal that money from the fire department to build the newspaper, to build the police department in Mission, the $30 million, without going in front of the city and transparency and a democracy. And now the money, that is why, because people are scared. I'm asking for Colin Watts to hang up his shoes now and move on. Go hide somewhere, and you never deserve to be in law enforcement. His guys are coming down here brutalizing, but I'm going to say this. It's the order by Henry Braun through his establishment to put them homeless in high risk under the Abbotsford police. Chase them off of here, which is the buffer zone right here. I'm standing on the sidewalk in front of the Salvation Army. Beat them and intimidate them, use your police uniform, maybe pull your gun out and wave it in their face, tell them you got a shield, maybe bring your undercover agents, as long as they're between the two train tracks. These guys are high. They're trying to have shelter. They're being chased around. They're very tired. A lot of them ain't getting to their doctors and getting help. They're well unnourished now because the people that feed them, the churches told me they can't get into them. And now they're between the train tracks and the Abbotsford Police, Colin Watts and his top officials. Did you see that, Rob Funk? Rob, we're cleaning the street for you to get your developer and get down here. Under my mayorship, we're going to bring the RCMP in. We're going to go after the illegal criminal acts. We're going to lower your taxes, and we're going to put a lot of kahunas in jail. And we're going to go after the Abbotsford Police, and the men and women there are going to be gone. Today, I stand on the largest world stage to show you the incompetence of this guy, Colin Watts, and how he was doing what he was doing with the Transportation Minister of Armagh and everybody else. This is where you need to be. This is where you come down for your former your colleague, Bruce Bannon, and you lighten up. This is what politicians, every time they want it, I tell you I got a solution for the homeless. I'm telling you, let me in, and then go load their pockets. This is where Bruce Bannon needs to be, Rianne Gasper, Armin, John Rustad, my friend, and all leaders here, and they need to say the screw up of blaming David Eby every day. We got to back it off. We got to go in our offices and listen to our residents and do the job we were hired for. And it's this incompetence of this little losing, retarded asshole that went and frauded and threatened Ross Siemens to do this to the homeless. I mean, it just angers me. I'm just so angered knowing that these people are the vulnerable of the weak. And guys like Ross Siemens and Henry Brown and Ed, we go to church and we're praying to the good Lord every day. And this is what they do to the people that can't get up. They're praying more to the good Lord, and Ross and these guys are taking advantage of them. It's just disgusting. It is so disgusting. And the churches and the people that feed them coming to me, Mr. Pelican, what can you do? What can you do? Let me tell you what I can do. I can stand on the world stage and demand that Chief Watts now and his top officials that are running this organized crime for Henry and the developers get removed and the RCMP come in here, and I guarantee you the RCMP are not going to be chasing them and putting their lives in danger for Henry Brown and Rob Funk. I'm live. Abbotsford, British Columbia.